Welcome into the Tottenham Depot. I am your host, Andrew. You can follow me at Astetka. You can follow us at Tottenham Depot. This is episode 297, and I am back from vacation and ready to talk Spurs. We are ready to get into a season. It is right around the corner. I'm anticipating it. I'm pumped. I know Todd is as well. He is alongside. He's at TC_Kasho. TC, what's up, my friend?
Any day, brother. Any day. You are one day closer to the Premier League season. Is a good day here in Tottenham Hotspur land.
It sure is. It sure is. Lots going on, as we kind of expected. The transfer news is abuzz. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little preseason as well. Spurs women out in Spain this week. Loving all the photos of the team bonding going on there. It's all great. It's all happening. Let's start with the men though. They were playing one of these behind closed door friendlies this weekend. A 1-1
behind
draw.
Closed door. Televised on Spurs Play Friendlies. Yes.
Yeah, but televised on a stream that no one enjoys watching. Exactly. 1-1 against Getafe in a match that only lasted 70 minutes anyway. And then I think they did another one that was actually not actually behind closed doors for players that didn't play enough. A couple of 70-minute matches. We're just out here getting the minutes in, getting the work in, which is totally fine. Conor Gallagher scored. Apparently there was a lot of kicking going on, and the Spurs players were not too pleased with the physicality of the match, especially for a preseason friendly. But did you catch any of this match? I will totally admit I merely caught highlights. So
yeah, no, I went back and watched it, and it's about what you expected it to be. Getafe, known for the dark arts, if you will, and they certainly had their wares on display. Three major takeaways from this game. First and foremost, there's a reason why Mikey Moore is talking about a loan to Cologne instead of a loan to Borussia Dortmund right now. I need minutes in that guy, consistent minutes in a top 5 league. I don't know that he's going to get those in Dortmund. We talked about this beforehand. I've kind of swung to your side of the pendulum here. And so I'm thinking that there's a good opportunity for him somewhere in one of those top 5 leagues. I hope he takes it. It's not going to be with Tottenham anytime soon, is what I'm looking at based off of that performance. Second thing is, Conor Gallagher is likely to play the majority of our season as a starting number 10.
We're going to get into that a little bit more here in a minute, but it is, I mean, there's no other option right now. It's really wild. It's really wild that we're in this place.
I agree. And if you're sitting there listening to this right now going, well, Conor Gallagher is not a 10. I'm aware, sir. I'm quite aware. However, in the way that De Zerbi plays, Conor Gallagher's pressing capabilities from the 10 position, his essential chaos merchant approach to things and it creates overloads and mismatches in multiple spots on the field in order to create positive number breaks for in open spaces in play. And Conor Gallagher does that specific thing better than anybody else we have on the team. So we're going to come on to other stuff later, but I think that Conor Gallagher has solidified himself as a key component to our success this season. And then the third thing is, if we don't sign a God-blessed striker or some sort of front help, the one guy that I have much maligned this summer is one Matthias Tell. And that guy was flashing crosses low across the box, left, right, and sideways in this match. And there was no one on the other end of them. And it was heartbreaking. It looked like we were playing with 10 men.
And this is where I swing my pendulum back to your side because, we were talking last week and the week before even, I think, about the fact that I think that the production of the wingers can help whoever's going to put the ball in the net in front. And if there's no one there to put the ball in the net in front, that kind of defeats the purpose. So
exactly.
No, you're 100% right. But shout out to Mati Tell, because he's actually been really good this preseason. And I'm granted, you take all that with a grain of salt. These games don't matter. They're against lesser opponents, et cetera, et cetera. But I am leaning more to, I definitely don't see a world in which Mathis Tel is not in the starting 11 against Brentford on match day 1. That just has to be who else is there at this point? Is the reason,
if we sign him?
Right,
But
but
we'll come
like,
on to all of that. We'll come on to all
yeah,
of that.
it's like it's shit or get off the pot time. Essentially, is where we are with that. Um, the other big news from the week happened just today, as we're recording, Monday the 10th. Spurs announced their new deal with Mickey Van de Ven, the 25-year-old center back, has signed a 5-year extension through the 2030-31 season with an option for a 6th year. Obviously, it's not disclosed, but there's obviously going to be a hefty wage bump in there as well. It sounds like he's probably making Sandro Tonali money at this point. So Mickey Van de Ven sticking around, which I think we all knew was going to happen, but it is now officially done. And I think when you looked at the kind of the checklist for Spurs this summer, it was re-sign Pedro Porro, which, by the way, shout out to that guy. He's now engaged, a World Cup
Is
winner,
there anyone? Is there
and,
anyone
and has his
living a
new
better
deal.
life?
It's incredible. Like, Pedro Porro is having a wild summer and now gets to return to just lead this team at right back and see what he can do here. But Van de Ven is the kind of the next notch on that summer checklist. Obviously, the signing of all the defenders, the signing of the midfielders. There's still work to be done in terms of the attack, and that's kind of what's left on the table. And then obviously the sales as well, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But the Van de Ven piece was a really big part of the checklist, and there's not really much else to say. There's no analysis to do here other than like 2 thumbs up. Glad we got it done. What I'm curious about is kind of the role that he's taken on as a leader in this club, because with the impending departure of his center back partner, Christian Romero, there will be an armband up for grabs. And I know we've talked a little bit about that this summer. Like, where's that armband going to be worn? Is it going to be a one player is the guy? Or is it going to be kind of a moving target? And Van de Ven has stepped up in that leadership role, which I think we can all appreciate. There, you just mentioned Conor Gallagher, even though he's been here a much shorter time. He's another guy, one of these more veteran players that is stepping up into leadership roles. So say what you need to about Van de Ven and just kind of where are we going here with the captaincy as well? Because I think he should be and will be a candidate for that.
So first things first, I couldn't be more excited about the fact that Mickey got his money. He absolutely deserves it. He is just a sports car of a defender, and the fact that he's parked at number 17 is pretty freaking awesome. Especially till the end of 2031. Because I mean, at that point in time, Andrew, is it like that's going to be the prime of Mickey's career? That will be about the end of it. Because he's not like a Virgil van Dijk, right? Where he's this huge immovable object, right? And he's massive in the air and all of this stuff. That's not the way that Mickey plays. Mickey is a converted striker, don't forget. And he very much plays like one. His timing is exceptional, but it's his pace. It's his pace.
It's the reason he plays left back for the Netherlands.
Exactly that. He has had the most impressive offensive and, well, I think offensive. Yeah, we'll give it to him. And most impressive offensive play in the last year and most impressive defensive play in arguably the last decade for Tottenham Hotspur. And for that, he absolutely should be in the conversation for captain. However, he wouldn't be my choice, at least not at this juncture. And the reason why, and I don't mean this disparaging to any of our Dutch listeners, but it's because of his grumpy face.
He does have a grumpy face. I will give you that.
So does Xavi. I haven't seen Jean-Paul Van Heckes yet, but
You're anticipating it.
I'm anticipating we might see a grumpy face. Now, the only reason why I bring that up is it's one thing to get in a ref's ear and show your frustration. That's fine. It's another thing to have that frustration look from the outside like you're pouting because someone took your toy. And when I look at the way that Mickey responds to things, it doesn't necessarily, it's not the body language I want from my captain. That's what it is. It's a body language thing. 80% of our communication is nonverbal, right? And Mickey's nonverbals are oftentimes a little immature for a captain of my liking, to be fair. he stood in admirably. He was better last year in deputizing Romero for the captaincy than he was the year prior when he had the few opportunities to wear the armband. But honestly, like, I really enjoyed watching Archie with the armband. I know he's not going to be the club captain, but that's the type of demeanor that I'm looking for out of the person with the armband. I love Conor Gallagher. It would nothing would make me happier to see a former Chelsea midfielder come into Tottenham and be embraced by this club and given the armband. But I think it's going to be Pedro. I think it's going to be Pedro Porro. I think
we talked about this maybe a month and a half ago about just who the options were. And I think we both at the time pretty much said, well, we know it's going to be Maddison, which is a conversation we're going to have here in a minute. But I also all of a sudden, like, I do still think that there's a chance that the club captain is just Maddison and he's not going to be wearing the armband all the time, because I don't think he's going to be on the pitch all the time. But that said, we mentioned Porro. We brought up Andy Robertson at the time. We brought up, we've brought up these different names, and I do think a lot of these guys, I think the positive about all of this is a lot of these guys are leaders anyway, or at least exhibit those traits, so they can kind of form that coalition and be leaders within the club, especially for some of these younger players who are still coming along. I do want to talk about go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, another reason why I like the idea of giving it to Pedro Porro is because he's the winner on this team right now.
Sure.
And this team has gotten way too comfortable with losing. Way too comfortable with losing over the last couple of seasons. Two straight 17th place. I'm so sick of those two numbers. I'm so sick of those two numbers. Last year was a 17th place finish. The year before that, we finished 14 points above the drop and won a Europa League title. So those are two different narratives of the season. But when you just look at it, they're extremely different. But if you just say it the way that the British media loves to say it, 17th twice in a row, or 2 years on the bounce, and it's an indictment of the entire organization. On the contrary, I would say that when you look at the actual seasons, with the amount of injuries that we've had, there's a lot more room for nuance in the discussion than maybe we see from the broad strokes of the British media. However,
nuance.
The point
Who does
remains
nuance anymore.
The point remains, people who go to the stadium have seen like 3 wins at home in the last year, and that's unacceptable.
It's totally unacceptable.
I think Pedro Porro, coming off of a World Cup, has a unique position to walk in that locker room and stir shit up. And he's very much a rah-rah guy anyway, which I like from a captain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's my choice.
We'll definitely find out
Pedro
here.
Guy.
Yeah, there you go. Good one. We'll definitely find out here in the next week and a half, because the season's literally right around the corner. That being said, James Maddison did take to Instagram earlier this week and basically said your ITK ain't ITK, referring to some reports out there that he has re-injured a hip, and he's basically saying that's bunk. But I'm going to say I haven't seen him out on the pitch a whole heck of a lot. So these are the questions that we're going to start asking, like how much, I mean, you just said it, Conor Gallagher's in line to be this team's number 10 to start the season, if not long term, because we still don't really know what James Maddison's availability is going to look like going forward.
I don't know that we know what kind of player James Maddison is going forward, to be honest. We haven't seen him on a pitch in a year. I will say
at the tail end of last year, there were times where he looked like the best player on the pitch and also the most unfit player on the pitch, if that's possible. Like, he looked like the most talented player possible out there.
It's not talent, it's technicality. Like, he has the most technical skill of anybody in that area of a pitch for us. And that's undeniable.
If he can't run, he can't run. That's a problem.
Right. If you can't cut, you can't cut. If you can't make a pass and get on the end of it in the box, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like I look at James Maddison this season the same way that I look at Kulusevski this season. If they come out and they're 85% of what they were when we last saw them at their best, I'm stoked. because that means that there's a chance they might be 100% next year. But I'm not holding my breath, and I'm not looking at them as the person that's going to carry the water for us during the Boxing Day stretch when the fixture congestion kicks in.
Right. I have different expectations for those two players only because one of them we have seen return and one of them we just have not seen at all. But I get what you're saying. Like it's I don't want to go as far to say anything you get from them is a bonus, but that is kind of the way it feels at this point, right? Like it feels like anything
we didn't
that
have
they
Madison
are able to
all last year.
right.
We haven't had Kulusevski all last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look at them, and we haven't had Wilson Oderbear all last year.
Which, by the way, it appears he's now training on grass, which is a good thing. Like I think he's slowly making his way back.
Yeah, we haven't had Mohamed Kudus in 7 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this team going like, yes, we look extremely threadbare up front. And yes, we have people coming back as reinforcements. But I have no idea who they are now.
Sure. It's a very fair,
Who's
it's a very
Kudus
fair
after
and
a hamstring
point.
injury?
Yep.
Who's Wilson Oderbear after an ACL?
Who's Xavi after an ACL?
James Madison
that one's even further off. Yeah.
James Madison is made of a bag of crisps and Scotch tape, and we're doing the best we can with him. This is the toughest league in the world, man. I don't know how many more seasons that guy's got until he needs to, shove off to, Italy or France or somewhere where he's going to get some more time on the ball and not have to run so much.
Well, it's on him to prove it. And he obviously is very active on the socials saying things like that, saying he's not hurt. He's going to be out there, and we'll see. The proof is in the pudding.
Do we think that this is just De Zerbi and co, like saying, hey, dude, I don't need you to play behind closed doors friendly against Getafe. Like, we know you're working. We know you're doing the thing. But I mean, I haven't even seen the training stuff. Like, when you watch like the training where they show like shooting drills and stuff, Madison's on it, dude. You can hear the ball going in the back of the net and know that it's him.
I'm not Zapruder filming the training video. I'm just not. I'm not at that.
That's
point.
funny.
And
what I'm saying is that we just haven't seen those things from the club or from Madison in general. So I don't know what we have. I don't know what we have.
It's a big mystery. What's not a big mystery is that Cuti Romero does appear on his way out. And the fact that it hasn't happened yet is not that surprising to me, but I do think
me either.
There's something that tells me like this is the week. And if it's not by the end of this week, then I will start to have questions. Like if we go into next week where the games are it's actually a game week next week, then I will start to have some questions.
It's squeaky bum time.
And so apparently Atletico Madrid are like ready to pull the trigger. They're completing some other business and then are ready. Maybe there's a hijack of some kind. Regardless, I do think that once the Romero domino falls, I think that will not just open up the checkbook, but open up just the floodgates for the incomings then, and also some more of the outgoings, like, because there's still the Vicario question. There's still a lot out there to be done. And like you said, we're down to it in terms of when the season starts. We're not down to it yet in terms of when the window actually closes, which is not until the end of the month. So I do think that's an important distinction to make, but you'd like to be as prepared as you can going into these first few matches. And once the Romero domino falls, I do think that the incoming attacking players that we've been rumored and linked to, I think Spurs are going to be ready to pull the trigger on some of those once it happens, but it's just a matter of getting it done and getting these things completed.
Why do you think the Romero domino is holding up the attacker dominoes?
Just because you can only do so much business at once. They're focused on one thing.
6 players in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and but those are also things that were lined up and ready to be done. I don't know that they know what's happening with Cuti Romero yet, or Vicario for that matter. I think they would like to know those things.
Vicario has a handful of Italian suitors that want him to come in and either be their number one or a backup, and he wants to go. I think we're probably going to get between 15 and 25 for him, which I think would be about right. I think if we get 20, I'm happy. The Romero piece, he's really kind of screwed us over on his valuation because of the way that this whole thing is ended. And we're going to take a bath on him, meaning whoever we sell him to is eventually going to either keep him for the rest of his career, thus getting the full value out of him, or sell him on for more than they bought him,
For
which is
sure.
crazy for an attacker like him or for
I,
a defender like him.
I think you're 100% right on what's going to happen. I don't know that that's his fault as much as it is just the market and the fact that he's coming from the Premier
That's
League where there are higher wages to another league where there are not as high of wages.
I'm gonna 100% push back on you because Arroyo just signed with Liverpool and they're paying him, approximately the same that he was getting in Barcelona. Like, you're looking at us spending 50 million on JP Van Hecke. Like, is Romero not as good as that guy? No, they're probably right on par with one another somewhere in that stretch, right? We're not
Yeah,
going to
but
get 50 million for Romero.
no, but that's because he's not going to be going to another Premier League club. Like, that's kind of my point. If he's going outside of the league, there's going to be lesser dollars
Well,
to
okay,
be
if
had
he's
there.
going to outside of a league, yes, Andrew, if it's, Sassuolo or whatever, like if he's going to go to Metz in France, it's like, but I mean, like, if you're going to send him to Real Madrid, if you're going to send him to Barcelona, you would anticipate that they're going to pay him what he's worth. Even Atletico Madrid, like, you're getting guys like, Julian Alvarez from Man City that's going to Atletico because he's getting paid, and he did. So it's like, I mean,
Yes,
as
they're going to
much as
pay
I
him. I'm not worried
understand,
about his wages. I'm talking about
I understand.
the transfer number, the
I
fee.
I understand the point that you're making, Andrew. My suggestion is that it is not the valuation drop on Cody Romero is not a 30% discount because he's going to La Liga from the Premier League. And that's about what we're going to give up on him. And I have a big issue with that. And I think he kind of
So
put us over a barrel there.
so you think the 30% discount or whatever the number ends up being is purely because of the fact that he captained Tottenham to a poor season and had a crummy attitude about it or whatever? Like, do you think it's on him?
I think there's a significant amount of this that is on him, partially because of the actions at the end of last year, partially because of the
I'm curious on
interactions
what
with the Zerbi.
I'm curious as to what those actions are, though. Like, what did he do? Did he?
You're gonna
You're
make
talking
me
about
play the
the
other side of this.
well, no,
You're a cheeky son of a gun.
no, he got injured, and everyone thought, oh, he's just ducking out for the World Cup. But I think he was
No, no,
injured.
no, no,
Like,
no, 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 no. I'm talking about the play on the field. The play on the field has rendered him virtually a non-starter for any other Premier League club right now. His style of play is blackballed in the Premier League.
I totally agree
And
with you.
and that is the reason why he's kind of put us over a barrel, because we can't negotiate with these La Liga teams like, well, Liverpool, big fans of Romero, going to pay him X, Y, and Z. We got probably, they're going to offer us, A, we need B from you. Like, we don't have that leverage. One. Two, he has to go to another league. They know that. And so
Mhm.
now we're negotiating on their terms. And
I
therein
completely,
lies the 30% discount
yeah,
that we're going to eat.
I get that, and I just have to be honest. That doesn't bother me. The financial loss that the club may take just doesn't chat my ass as much as it does yours, which is totally fine. It's not my money. And
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
hear.
and I don't think the club is going to suffer for it. Like, I don't think I don't think this is a long-term issue.
No, I guess my issue is more on the principle of it. It's the
Sure,
principle of it. Because
that's
you've got
fair.
a World Cup winning center back, a guy who on his day is a top 3 center back in the world, maybe top 4 center back in the world. And
On his
especially
day.
when he plays on his day, especially when he plays in his national team,
Mhm.
especially when he plays in an environment where, like, him going to Atletico Madrid, this is where I said that he should have gone to begin with. And so the fact that that's where it looks like he's probably going to go makes complete sense for me. I mean,
Sure.
is he not Diego Simeone's like stepchild or whatever? Like, it's just like his guy. That's his dude. It's his countryman. He helped mentor Simeone's kid coming up in the national team. Like, Cody, it's all in the family there. So that makes complete sense to me. And they're going to get the most out of him there. I think the way that Romero plays in Spain, he's going to be a monster. I mean, he's going to be Sergio Ramos. like a monster.
I completely agree with you the on this day part. I think part of the reason for that imaginary or not imaginary 30% dip that we're going to get in the transfer fee is also because he hasn't been that guy. He hasn't been on his day very often or often enough. And I agree with what you're saying, the reputation stuff and all of it. Spurs just kind of have their hands tied a little bit here and need to get rid of the player, and it's going to happen. It's just a matter of getting it done. In terms of what comes after that, are you I know you're worried about the lack of attacking presence in this club, but are you freaked out to the point where you don't think it'll get done by the end of the month? Or you're just wanting it to happen before next week because there's real games to be played?
I'm a continuity guy, right?
Sure.
And the way that I've observed Roberto De Zerbi approach his squad building is that you need to have familiarity with the like schematics of it in order to kind of step in and be seamless. I really want whoever we're going to bring in to get over the line before we go through a prep week, right?
Sure.
You know as
That
well
would
as
be
I
nice.
do, like a guy coming in at the trade deadline or at the transfer deadline, is going to take a few weeks to get up to speed. And now, by the time he does, we're 6 weeks into the God-blessed season, and you potentially just pissed 18 points down the road because you weren't paying attention and getting the deal over the line before the end of the month because you wanted to save 2 or 3 million euro, right?
Yeah.
So
The perfect
year
example of
after
this.
year after freaking year, Andrew, we watched the way that this club operate leave us in the lurch, be 2 players short. I've said this for 5 years on this podcast. Tottenham Hotspur is perennially 2 players short of being a legitimate contender. And right now, we are a left wing and a center forward away from being a legitimate contender. And if we don't plug those holes with viable options, we're what somebody put it in the chat. We're the badly drawn horse.
Yes, that's 100% where they are. I'm not as worried. I do think it'll get done, but I get what you're saying, and the continuity thing is important. Like we saw, I mean, this week we're getting Romero, Porro, and Spence back from their World Cup break, but Marco Senesi came back last week because he wanted to get back early and get to Hotspur Way and get acquainted and like wanted to get that extra time because he hasn't been here. Those other guys are going to be fine. They're going to come back into Romero. Obviously, we talked about that, but the Porro and the Spence of it all, like they can come back in and kick on, and like I think they will be ready for Brentford or at least the Carabao Cup match after that. Like I do think that those guys are going to be pumped and ready to go, and they got their break, and now let's dive in. But the continuity thing is important. I just think that this is the way the market has played out, and the attacking options are out there. I mean, there's so many names that are being floated now, and like backups to the backups names. Like we thought it was plan A, and we might be down to plan B, C, D by the time we get to the end of this. I'm just curious as to who it's actually going to be at this point, because that's, I think, the part for me that I'm anticipating the most is like, what's the name going to look like, and are we going to be disappointed by it?
Well, let me throw 3 names out there. One of them I'm going to mispronounce. But let's start with the ones I know. Rumor has it that Endrick is going to be letting Real Madrid know that he wants to adios it. And there's a rumor that an audacious loan is being lined up for him by a Premier League club. We love a loan for a flashy name player. How would you feel if Endrick came into the fold?
Man, I have no opinion on any of these names. I mean, it's Balogun, it's Gapco, it's, we talked to Oshiman last week. Like, I just want them. I'm kind of like you in the sense that I just want it to get done. And I do think that the outgoing business that has already happened and will happen. I mean, we haven't even mentioned the Manor Solomon piece of this. Like, Manor Solomon's been playing a lot in the preseason, and now he's gone to West Ham. So, like, the bodies are just I'm to the point where we just need the bodies.
No.
Sense.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We had bodies on the field. We fielded a full team this weekend against Getafe and couldn't find the back of the net with freaking police escort. Like, it was rough, brother. The reason why I'm asking about Endrick is because we need a legitimate center forward. And the center forward that De Zerbi likes to play is that kind of second striker type, the one that can drop deep, facilitate for the wingers, and then get on the end of the crosses. Endrick is decent at that, but he's 5'8". He's a 5'8" striker trying to get the job done in the Premier League. I don't love it. Balogun, I think, is an interesting one. I'm not talking to you about Cody Gakpo. I refuse. I've said my piece on it. I don't want to speak terrible about the guy anymore.
I'm telling you, you can throw any name out there, and I'm just going to say okay. Like that's where it's not that I'm settling. I'm ready for it to happen and for the season to start. Like that's where I am. I don't. You can list all the names off, and I'll just be like, all right.
See, well, it's different for me because like the other one is Balogun, as I mentioned. Like, I would much rather have Flo Balogun than Endrick. But what about Georges Mikaduse or whatever his name is from Villarreal? Dude, that guy's a stud. He does everything that De Zerbi's looking for. But again, it's a name. And so, like, I'm throwing this out to you and you're looking at me going, yeah, dude, whatever, get it over the line. And I'm like, okay, bro, but like, not everybody can score in the Premier League.
No, it's
how many Vincent Janssens, bro? How many Vincent Janssens? How many Fernando Llorentes? Shout to the man.
How many Dominic Solankis, Richarlisons?
How many Dominic Solankis? How many Richarlisons are we running around trying to sign? Yeah. When in reality, we just need to pay the money for the Krupi or the Omar Marmouche or the dude that we know has 20 goals in his locker sitting there just waiting to add on to this team. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, there's still a few boxes to check for sure on this list. I want to touch on some odds and ends before we get into talking some Spurs women. We did talk about, I mentioned it. Manor Solomon did finally, the deal with West Ham went through. It's $5 million plus another $2 million in potential add-ons plus a 10% sell-on clause. I do think it's important to remember. You talked about Spurs are going to take a loss on Romero. Boy, are they not taking a loss on Manor Solomon, because remember, they signed him for a song. And even though it's only $5 million and two an add-on and a 10% sell-on, they're still making a profit on that deal.
But such a substantial profit, because they've had other clubs pay his wages for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he didn't. It never was happening. So that one finally did get done. A few other ones that look like loan wise that they're getting ready to happen. You mentioned Mikey Moore. That one was going to happen last week and then was put on hold. We'll see where that goes. It sounds like Ashley Phillips had a deal to Middlesbrough, but that may be falling through now due to a medical issue. I'm not sure where that's going to go. We'll find out about that in the coming days and weeks.
I heard that was done. Rough.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's not. It hasn't been announced and it's not completed. So
speaking of Middlesbrough, shout to our boy Will Lancashire for scoring an absolute banger in his first professional match for them in a Carabao Cup tie against Wrexham that ended up being the winner.
Yeah, it was the winner.
Well done to that dude.
Right on. Mason Melia did get his loan to Lincoln City, so he will go off to the championship.
They have a good lineage of bringing through young Irish players, so that's going to be a really good fit for him. That kid's a stud. And then I'm telling you right now, that kid's a stud.
Yeah, and then the other one that I had really forgotten about is Yang Min Hyuk. He's going to Westerlo, which this will be the third player that Spurs have sent to Westerlo in recent years. Yes. Of course, Alfie Devine and Luka Vuskovic went there. Yes. This is going to be Jan's fourth loan spell in his 2 seasons at Spurs. So,
which is fine. We bought him when he was 17. It's whatever.
Yeah, so that's another one just to kind of keep an eye on. And then we did get the Carabao Cup draw today. It'll be Charlton Athletic at home in the second round of the Carabao Cup for Spurs. That match is going to be played in 2 weeks' time. It is actually it actually will end up being Spurs' first competitive home match of the season, because they open the season on the road to Brentford, and then they'll come back home in midweek to face Charlton Athletic. And then we'll have the Premier League home opener on the weekend. So that's an interesting one. I know I did see, and I thought this was a pretty good bit. A lot of the Charlton fans were recalling last year when they were chanting that they were ready to face Tottenham away in the championship. they will not get that opportunity, but they will get to face Tottenham away in the Carabao Cup. So good for them, and I hope they all have a wonderful time, and I hope they don't win the game because that would really suck.
Battered 5-1.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Before we get off the odds and inside, I just want to give a shout out to one of my favorite Tottenham Hotspur players of all time, one Dele Alli, who is 30 years old in the midst of trying to make a comeback in English football, potentially has an opportunity with a championship club from London called West Ham. I don't know if you've heard
that's what I heard.
There's a decent chance that the championship is a really good place for him to kind of get his sea legs back. And being able to do that in a championship side like West Ham is good news for him. So
perhaps he can find Manor Solomon there and help him score some goals.
I want all of the good things in the world to happen to Dele Alli.
I think we all do. We chatted League Cup, and it dawned on me that I totally forgot that on the women's side of the game this year in England, the League Cup is no longer the League Cup. It is now called the Players' Cup. In fact, if you want to throw the sponsorship on there, it is the Subway Players' Cup this season, and it is
Happy Gilmore is not playing.
He's not. I've never been a Subway person, not unless they want to sponsor us, in which case I am very much a Subway person. But it sounds like they've got their business tied up in the Women's Players' Cup.
This delicious cold cut combo. It's a hole-in-one.
The format for this cup this season is completely different. And when I say completely different, I mean really, really different. If you remember back, the League Cup always used to be you're in a group and you play 3 games and then you go to the knockouts. Well, the size of this thing has increased while also decreasing, weirdly enough, because the real kicker of this cup this year is that Champions League teams are not involved. So there will be no Manchester City.
There will
be no Arsenal. There will be no Chelsea in this cup, which is I think there's going to be an interesting debate over whether it's the legitimacy of it or not. But it does present an opportunity as well for a club like Tottenham Hotspur, who would love to put some trophy in the cabinet on the women's side of things. And, you have lesser competition now to face in that respect. You do have Manchester United in this competition still. You have London City. You have Liverpool. You have some of these WSL sides who will present, a challenge. But I think if you can get through to the knockout phase, which I'm going to explain in a second, it's a completely different format. I do think you have a shot to get a trophy. And I definitely think that's something that Martin Ho is going to have his eyes on as well.
Well, and realistically, if things go the way that we want it to go, we're not going to be in this competition next year. So
that would be great.
Right. So this is kind of our shot.
It would be really awesome. So there are 23 teams involved in the League Cup. It's the WSL and the WSL2 teams. And they're basically dividing things kind of like they do on the men's side of things into North and South. So Spurs obviously are in the South. They get to match up against those teams that are in the South. It's actually a little bit unbalanced because of the odd number of teams. The North end up playing slightly lesser opponents. They'll have more WSL2 sides in the North, but regardless, they released the fixtures last week and Spurs are going to play their 6 matches, 3 at home, 3 away. The first one will be at West Ham. The second one at Brighton, the first one is home to West Ham, then at Brighton. Then they'll go to Bristol City, home to Crystal Palace, which is going to be fun. A couple former Spurs on that club. Home to Leicester City, and then away to Ipswich Town. Those are the matches, and they run all the way through December. There are 2 in September, 1 in October, 2 in November, 1 in December. And if you finish in the top 8 of the entire table, that's kind of the kicker of this cup this year. It's 2 different North and South divisions, and the teams are kind of split in that way, but the table is all one table. So of the 23 teams, you've got to finish in the top 8. The points are very similar to previous League Cups, whereas it's 3 points for a win. If the match is level after 90, you go to a shootout and get 2 points for winning in the shootout. And the other team would get 1 point in that scenario. So top 8 teams advance to the knockout phase, which will then be played in 2027. The knockouts will start, I believe it's in January, and then the final is in March. So it's a condensed knockout, and it's a longer 6-match group stage, a little bit like the Champions League side on the Champions League on the men's side that they expanded. You get these 6 group matches that are kind of randomized, and then you go into the knockouts if you qualify. So it will be interesting to see kind of how this plays out, especially with the lesser teams in there, and Spurs will get to have their crack at some of those WSL2 sides as well.
Well, I kind of love this, to be honest with you, Andrew. And I wouldn't be opposed to them rolling a format out like this on the men's side, especially if it removes the Champions League teams. Because with 5 teams in Champions League now, the extra European competition plus the League Cup, dude, for Champions League teams, those Januaries are brutal because you're likely in the latter stages of the League Cup and you're in the close to the must-win games in the Champions League rounds of play. And so that fixture and you're coming off the back of the festive season where the fixtures get real congested. So it's kind of a shambles. And so if instead you roll out a format like this where you exclude the top 5, because those are Champions League places in the Prem, and it's 6 down and you maybe, I don't know, I think with the 4 divisions that you're including, I think you're going to get enough gameplay out of it. You'll get more upsets. You'll have more teams be able to, make a substantial impact and have a shot at silverware. I really don't see this as a bad thing. Plus, there's a decent chance that you get somebody else to sponsor it with a bigger name than care about. So
I think the only thing that would stop that from happening on the men's side of things is just because of the depth of the pyramid. It just becomes almost too many teams, especially if you're putting them all in one table. And I also think that there will be a question about the legitimacy of this thing because of the exclusion of the Champions League teams. Like, I think people are going to have a problem with that. I don't really have as much of a problem with it because I do look at the League Cup as a lesser cup than, say, the FA Cup.
Right, and that's my point. You couldn't do this with the FA Cup. But
No.
What I'm saying is that I think that the champions, like the Big 6, would vote yes for this.
Kind of to eliminate the burden of it almost.
The burden of it all. But also, financially, the amount of money that they actually make from this competition is negligible. It's nothing.
Well, but it's also the other problem with that too is that it's very helpful to the lower sides when they get drawn a big team at home. Like, that's a big deal for them.
And this is let me ask this. Obviously, your top 4 or whatever, that's one thing. But last year we were in 17th. Year before that, Man United was in 16th. Year before that, Liverpool was in 9th. So you're still going to get the big clubs. It's just not going to be as consistent. And I think that for the good of football, this actually provides an avenue for a smooth off-ramp.
I would eventually like to see the League Cup on the men's side almost be lessened, while on the women's side, I want to see it be increased, like they're doing with this. They're kind of blowing it out. And not only obviously are we going to get, I mean, this past week I was doing some notes, some putting some dates in my diary for the season and realizing there are going to be a lot of women's games, especially in this first half, like before the calendar turns, almost more so than the men's games, because not only are there more WSL games this year with the expansion of the league by 2 teams, but this League Cup throws a whole new wrench into things and adds a lot of games. There are actually stretches in October and November where there's like a men's international break in both of those months, and Spurs women are playing like 4 matches during each of those breaks because they're playing WSL on the weekend.
Isn't the international break 3 weeks too?
Yeah, there's an extended one in here at some point as well. Yes.
Why?
So
is it just because it's a World Cup year?
I really don't know the answer to that. You would have to ask Gianni Infantino, and I think he's a little tied up at the moment.
Yeah, that guy can kick rocks too. Not a big fan.
Spurs women are also in Spain, as I mentioned at the top of the show. They got a 1-0 victory over Granada on Saturday. Senia Gopset scored with about 6 minutes to go. Spurs kind of dominated this one. I did catch a decent portion of this match. I did not sit down and watch it all the way through. But the cool part about this was that pretty much all the new players played. Almost all the new players played. We saw Pangastuin. I'm going to botched that all year. The new backup goalkeeper, maybe not backup goalkeeper, played in this one. Kirsty Hansen, Caitlin Dykstra, Shakira Martinez, who is a player that I am so excited to watch this season coming over from West Ham. Victoria Pelova, all saw action in this one. So good for the women to get like their preseason underway. They will actually have another match coming up Wednesday against Real Madrid. They remain in Spain, and then they're going to come back home for some more preseason before their season does kick off here. It won't be far behind the men's season, but they don't kick off until, where is it? The 6th of September against West Ham is their first match. So a little bit of ways still for them to go. And honestly, I know they've done a lot of business, but there's still time for them to do some transfer business if they want to as well. We know that I think there's a few outgoings that could still happen. And we never hear about the incomings before on the women's side, unfortunately, but we never know. There's a possibility that they bring someone else in too, because they've just had a banger of a summer.
They sure have. They absolutely have. I don't think I've ever been this excited for a Spurs women's season as I am for this one.
Yeah, it's there's gonna be a lot to watch too. Like I said, with the increase of games, there's just gonna be more games to be. And I also think that's important too because of the depth that they've added. Like they're gonna need actually a little bit of. Normally, we don't need a lot of rotation in the women's game because there's so few games. But this year, there's gonna be some rotation actually needed, and I think it's important that they've added.
I couldn't agree more. Do we have an update on like where they're going to be showing the matches? Has that changed at all with the expansion of the WSL?
That it is still going to be, I believe, mostly a YouTube thing. And I actually think that here in the States, I believe Paramount Plus is picking up some of those games. I think, okay. But I'll have to get with my underlings and figure out a true answer to that. But I know the games are going to be televised because at least here in the States, because they're doing a really good job of getting them on streaming services at the very least.
Good stuff. Well, speaking of televised on the men's side, there's something that just came across that I wanted to. It came out earlier in the day, but it's something I just saw. They're going to show a live Spurs match on the Men in Blazers network.
I saw that
this Saturday on their YouTube channel, which is awesome. Roger and boys do an incredible job over there. So we're really looking forward to being able to participate in that. I think it's going to be a good match against Hoffenheim too. So that's our final tune-up before we kick it off.
Yeah, that's going to be Saturday at the stadium. So if you are able, get out for that. And yeah, it'll be televised here in the States by the Men in Blazers network, I guess. They're also going to play another match on Sunday against Hoffenheim. That'll be a quote unquote closed door friendly. I haven't seen if that's actually going to be aired on Spurs Play or not. That might actually be a true closed door friendly, but that is the plan for them to get another match in at Hotspur Way on Sunday after the match at the stadium on Saturday. So we'll have to see how that goes, and just please everyone come through it healthy and going into the final kind of week before things will really kick off at the G-Tech on the 22nd. Should be fun. That is going to do it for this episode of the Tottenham Depot. Be sure to check out our episodes on YouTube. You can watch us on youtube.com/Tottenham Depot. You can also leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice to help spread the word about the show. You can follow Todd at TC_Kasho. You can follow me at Stetka. Yeah, exactly. Most importantly, follow us at Tottenham Depot on all the socials. We will talk to you next week. This has been the Tottenham Depot podcast. As always, come on, you Spurs.